Hello PE 582. This is my response video on week 4 on strengths in coaching. So part 1 is to share my top 5 strengths and explain how they have played out in my life. So my top 5 Clifton strengths were, one was an activator. So this strength is being impatient for action and having a let's get going attitude. And I think that plays out in a lot of areas in my life. So as a coach, I oftentimes give my assistant an opportunity to run a practice. I think it's really good to bring her up and give her experience and have her take the lead. But a lot of times she over explains, and so I'm like, all right, let's go. So sometimes I'll cut her off and I'll kind of keep things moving because I'm more conscientious of the clock and our time than she is. Another area that I'm like that in is at home with my husband. So he's more very relaxed and take your time and drag your feet and everything's all good, like it's gonna be fine. And I'm like a basket case and I stress out and I'm like, no, we gotta go, we gotta do this. So those are kind of different areas that strength plays out in my life. Another one is communication. So the video on the Gallup theme, short videos on communication explained that it's a way with words, and it's being able to influence people with your words and being able to put feelings and thoughts into words. And so I think for me as a coach, I learned that there's different ways to explain one thing. And when you have a team of however many people, 10, 12, 15 athletes, everyone's going to receive things different. And so I learned to communicate things, for one, to say them a number of times, and also to use analogies. So when I'm coaching, I try and be like, okay, it's similar to this. When you do this, this happens. It's the same thing in water polo. So I try and break it down so that it's easy to understand and grasp. And then at the very end, I always ask if there are questions. Actually, I lied. I don't ask if there are questions. I ask, what questions do you have? That's something I learned also. Because a lot of times when you pose it as, are there questions? A lot of times people will say no. When you pose it at, what questions do you have? Then it's like, then you're saying that I know there's questions out there, so tell me what they are. So that's one way that I've communicated in coaching. Another strength is my responsibility. So again, the short video explained responsibility as having a psychological commitment, and described it as your integrity and your loyalty, which I thought was really interesting to tie those together. But I would say, in general, I'm a responsible person, and I think that when it was explained that way, I am a very loyal person. So I take every job that I have very serious, and I just make sure that I am one step ahead of the game. Just with scheduling and with payments and things like that. I really like to be ahead of schedule, and I never, ever like to be late. So I think that makes me responsible. Another area of strength is discipline. So I am definitely a planner. I like to plan almost everything out, and I brought something to show you guys. This is something that I make every year. This is my planner for this season, and as you can see, it's a little thick. So I have different sections in here. I keep track of our record by hand, and then so one section is our stats. I like to keep all of our stats in one section so that I can go back to a certain game and read the notes that I wrote down. And then another section is a practice planner. So I am a firm believer in planning your practices as a coach. So there's my practice planner. I really don't think that winging a practice is a good method, and so I like to really map out and plan out my practices ahead of time, and make sure that I execute them. A lot of times I tend to have all these thoughts in my head and I write them down, but I don't have enough time, and so it'll just carry over into the next practice. But I am a firm believer of planning that out. I think it's fair to your athletes, and I think that you will have a much more successful team and a successful season if you take the time to plan each practice out. So that's one area that I am disciplined and use structure and yeah. And then the last one is an achiever. So I love that in the video it says that this person has a drive to finish, and that they're focused on completion and the finish or the end of something. And that's so me. And one of the things that I thought of was I have done several half Ironmans. Don't ask me why, but I was not fast. I didn't compete for anything. I really just did it to do it. And in the end, although it took me over 7 hours, that home stretch, I booked it. I was just sprinting, even though, the last 5 miles of my run, I am literally dying, and I probably should have walked. I would have been going faster if I just walked. But when I see the finish line and I know I'm almost done, it gives me this energy, and it gives me a satisfaction of completing something that's challenging, that just motivates me to just up that energy and finish with a bang and finish hard, and I can tap my shoulder and be like, you did it. And so it's not so much like I got a good time or whatever. I finished, and I'm proud of that. So that's the one thing that I thought of when I watched that video is my drive to finish something, and I feel that way with this program as well. So there's something about the end. I always think about graduation, and I think about finishing this program that really motivates me and encourages me to keep going. So those are my 5 strengths and how they're played out in my life. And now we're going to part 2. Mandy, what are some of your strengths? Well, some of my strengths are communicating well with different people. I have a sense of urgency to get things done, so my strong work ethic in that sense would make me a really good employee for your organization. I thrive on structure and planning, and my drive to finish a task will make me a really good candidate, because I thrive on finishing tasks, and I'm really good at being disciplined through those tasks. I have a psychological commitment to others, which means that I will always put my best foot forward. I will always work hard, and I will always thrive to learn and to grow and to constantly be moving forward and moving up and being the best person I could be, the best employee, and the best coworker in this organization. Those are my strengths, and that is what I can bring to the organization. Do you have any other questions? So that's my part 2 interview question on my strengths. It's trying to sum up the different strengths that I just gave you in detail in a couple sentences and tie those in as to if I were in a job interview and why you should hire me, aside from the fact that I am just awesome. So yeah, this is a really long video. Thank you for watching if you stuck around to the end, and I can't wait to hear from all of you. Thanks.